excited to be here to do
My
this.
name is Laura Foster.
Guitar player extraordinaire slash resident fun guy at Northside Baptist.
Trio Quinn. I'm actually Charlie's cousin.
Will Baker. Eddie.
Baines Blanton. I'm a junior at Lowndes High
Drew
School.
Peterson. I'm a student at Lowndes High School.
All right, welcome to the podcast. I'm so glad to have you on today. If you just introduce yourself and let's keep on going.
Yeah, man. I'm Avery Bellinger. I go to Lowndes High School.
Mm-hmm. And you play the drums here, correct? Too? Yeah.
I do.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And so when it comes to your testimony, what does that entail?
So I got into a bad crowd a while ago. It was kind of, I don't know. It just, I was in with the wrong sort of people. They were making me do the wrong sort of stuff. I really regret all of it. But, recently, last now, I rededicated my life to Christ.
Yeah, you did.
And that was
And
awesome.
it was so funny because I remember like from half the students are down on the floor at the altar.
Yeah.
And by the way, my knees were killing me when I was down there.
So were mine.
And so it was funny because then Austin, the speaker at the time, he said, everybody that's down on the floor look up, and I was like, Avery?
Yeah.
Avery?
I could see the look on a lot of people's faces. They were all happy for
Well,
me.
yeah, we were all happy, but I mean, there was also a bit of like
Surprise.
Well, yeah, because you're so into
Oh, yeah.
Northside, like you're like with your ministry stuff, like what you do here, like with either with the media stuff in the back or the youth band and stuff. So you're really plugged in, and so I think that's what shocked a lot of people. It shocked me.
Yeah.
I was like, hold up. Yay, but wait a minute, I gotta get some answers, but dude, that was like really, really cool, because I'm happy for everybody that got saved and baptized there, but you were the one that I knew. I know Matthew did too. Well, he was getting baptized because of it.
Matthew got saved right after.
Yeah.
Like after D now.
Right, yeah.
Actually, sitting in a Waffle House eating breakfast.
Really?
Yeah.
Nice. That's awesome. Yeah, because I was, I talked with him and I said, dude, I'm gonna be there when you get baptized tonight. I was like, You're not gonna see me, but I'm gonna sit up in the. I sat up in the balcony up there, and I was like, I'm gonna take a video of it, even if it's gonna be like the worst video ever, because my Zoom is like garbage. But that was like really, really cool, man. Like, I looked up and I was like, well, would you look at that? Because I remember a bunch of people afterwards. I hear them like cheering. They're like, yeah, Avery, and I know that I think. Especially like Steven Kotzman, because he was there too. I think was he right by you?
He was right by me. Steven was so enthused.
I bet. I mean, how can you not be? I mean,
exactly.
Because you've built those relationships, and we can talk about those too. In the Bridgemen, again, you just made that video. We just you just made the for the seniors, but what impact has those seniors had on you as being in the Bridgemen?
Man, I can't even explain it. They've helped me through so much. It's just been an incredible past 2 years.
Yeah, and you'll be able to keep up with them. And I know that for those that decide to stay, they know what church you go to, and they seem to love it every time they come.
Yeah.
Become a member. I'm not begging you to, but I'd love to see them more too, because they're great people. I just don't get to see them all that much, because like our classes, they just don't like. That's such a shame, because I know so many people.
I've been talking to him about it recently.
Yeah, and that's great. And it's like I get to see all these people, or I get to hear about them, whatever. But I don't get to see them except for like maybe here, because this is the place that we all come together, right?
Yeah.
Especially, and I don't know about you, but what's been so cool is in our youth group, we have such an array of people, from Lowndes to Lanier to Valdosta, and the homeschool kids.
Even though some are better than others.
Hey, yeah.
Lowndes.
Lowndes, yeah.
One Lowndes.
But we all come together, which is so cool. We wouldn't know each other if we weren't all here. Yeah. And I mean, there's so many different personalities. Like, oh my gosh, I'm just two examples. Think either about Charlie or Carson, for example. Both crazy in like crazy good way, but they're both two different people. But and they're hilarious. And you've got some of the most kindest people too in the Bridgemen, and also here at Northside as well. I've not talked with Steven much, but every time I have, he's been like really, really nice.
Yeah,
he's really, really cool.
Amazing.
Yeah, I remember we had a class together. I think it was might have been either 10th grade lit or I think it was 10th grade lit. And I remember Spider-Man No Way Home was coming out, like it was around that time. And dude, we kept nerding out. Like I told him, I was like, man, I'm going to see it like opening weekend. He's like, no way. And
That's hilarious.
And I'm like, yeah, I'm going to, and see it then. So we, talked about Spider-Man for like a solid 10, 15 minutes.
Yeah, I don't blame you. It's a pretty cool movie.
Oh yeah, and I remember too. I don't know if you saw him, but Darren D. Now Were you in the back, Darren, or were you up on stage, Darren, when we sang? I don't remember if you were.
I don't think I was. I think I was down. I was either down or talking to Daniel.
Yeah, because for the second service I stood next to Steven, and my gosh, that kid can jump. I was like,
yeah, dude works out, and when he works out, he works out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've just started getting into that, and I'm like, okay, this is I'm already week 1, and this is killing my body. But you know what? I want to push through. But so when it comes to NBC though, how did you and your family come to Northside?
So my grandparents had originally come here. They were founding members. Mm-hmm. They laid some of the bricks for the original church.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That is crazy.
And at our old church, we didn't feel like we were called to be there,
Mm-hmm.
We felt like we could do a lot more than we were doing.
Yeah.
And that led us here. Mm-hmm. And ever since we've been.
So, and has your dad always been tied in with AV and all that? Yeah. So he's always been kind of into that? It
started in the Marine Corps. He
really?
did that stuff for the Marines, yeah.
Man,
he also played in the band for the Marines.
Man, if I could... What? Man, okay, yeah, I'm going to have to... here first, Mr. Terry. I'm gonna need you to free up a schedule to get you 45 minutes. That's crazy. That's cool though. But yeah, I mean, because I think that was one of the first ministries for me at least that was so interesting, right? Because it's connected with everything. Yeah. Whether it was graphics made or Noah and Gavin make or whatever, they're all that's tied back in, or worship, especially with the worship, right, with the lights and everything, or that's. I mean, the way I see it is the media ministry is the one ministry that's tied with everything.
Yeah, because everything that we do, it directly affects a lot of the other ministries.
Right, and it affects the church. And, that was one of the fun things for me was when we made slides and stuff, is you're informing over 1,000 people every Sunday what's happening, what's going on. And sure, Pastor Robbie can just sit there and say the announcements, and there not be nothing up on the screen or whatever, but... when you see that graphic like that, people save that, or people see that, they take a screenshot of it, or people are like, "Ooh, that's really cool looking." I want to go. It gauges people's eyes, and just on that front, that's cool. But then what you guys do in the back, I can't imagine.
We are so blessed to have all of the equipment that we need to do that stuff.
I mean, and I can't imagine some of the stress you guys are under, especially big events
I'm running cameras and I swap the live stream.
Yeah, I mean, I see you going back and forth from the camera that's in the back there that we do see, and say for Easter example, I know y'all gonna be okay,
we're gonna be like fish out of water.
We gotta focus. we gotta focus up, and but you guys do a wonderful job though, especially because I got to see it today, kind of how some of the things work. I didn't realize that the lower thirds are different on. Is it the live stream itself?
Yes.
Compared to what we see up on the screen, if there's a lower third somewhere else, or whatever. I didn't realize that.
It's a whole process.
Yeah, which I mean, but you got to think that serving people, the live stream is serving people all around the world. Because I've heard people Pastor Robbie talk about, it's not just the U.S. that people, what in the world, that people, that they're listening to this live stream. It's so many people around the world, which is crazy. If I was Pastor, I'd be like, man, look what God's doing, taking my voice all over the place,
Absolutely.
So when it comes to you playing the drums, how did that start? Where'd that come from?
It was kind of just a slight interest at first. I started talking to Daniel and Kirsten, the original 3 in the youth band.
Yeah, the OGs.
Yeah. And from there, I started and have developed my skill since.
Mm-hmm. And you've done a fabulous job. Because I know one thing. I mean, to correct me if I'm wrong, but like the drums are a really integral part to a band, regardless, because they keep, especially.
Yeah, we keep everything going.
Right,
we hold the
and
tempo.
like you hold the tempo and keep everybody on track. Like because if you, it's like if something's like a bit too quick or too fast or too slow,
you're gonna notice.
You're gonna notice, and it may not be because of like. From you, but you notice in the other like instruments, other people, because that cadence is going too fast. So like you really do keep, man. Like I know some of the songs are a bit they're some are similar in their tempos and stuff, but I would be nervous as all get it every time I got up there to do that. But yeah, you do a wonderful job with that.
Thank you.
And I know that you're gearing up and getting ready to tonight, getting ready to get in the big drum booth and be a part of the youth band with. Up on the big stage, though.
Yeah, boy, am I nervous.
you got this, bro. Like, come on. Like, you're Avery Bellinger. You've got this.
I can definitely try.
You've got the power of God on your side. Come on.
I do.
You've got this, bro.
We all do.
Yeah. And I'm really excited to see what I'll have to sneak down there. And we're like, hey, Avery, smile, like, and take a picture of you down there.
Go right ahead.
Yeah, you know it. Like, watch it. Everybody's gonna do that. It's like, or Mike just appears on the corner. Avery.
No doubt in my mind.
No, like, or we all should just go down there and be like, just stare at you for a minute. Just, what's up? Like, no.
I will purposefully mess up and blame it on you guys.
What? No. That'd be funny though.
It would be.
Yeah. So when it comes to you've talked with Daniel and Kirsten, like you said, with the original.
Yeah.
So is that what kind of got you with playing the drums? Is that what kind of got you leading in with the youth band, or was that always something you wanted to do? Or?
Yeah. So playing the drums, it kind of started. I think it started when I was around 7-ish.
Mm-hmm.
I had become interested in it. So when I got into middle school, I joined the middle school concert band.
Yeah.
Excelled at a lot of stuff in there,
mm-hmm.
and then I moved on to the high school marching band.
Yeah.
Played cymbal quads my first year. Now I'm on tenors,
mm-hmm.
which is what I want to stay at.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it was my freshman year when I was on cymbal quads that
mm-hmm.
I started playing drums for the youth.
So you've been doing it for years now.
Quite a while, yeah.
I didn't realize that it was that long. I thought, maybe
Yeah.
like you came in, maybe it was maybe been about a year or two. But man, you've been doing it. Like you've been the drummer.
When I'm 16, I started when I was 7. That's
Yeah.
been like
dude,
9 years.
Yeah.
I did some
I'm not gonna say if you're right or wrong because I'm terrible at math and I don't.
Yeah.
I know that's basic math, people, but I'm terrible at math regardless. But dude, that's crazy that you've been doing it for that long.
It doesn't even feel like it's been that long.
No, I mean, and what was so cool too is me and Charlie, we came in a little early and got our seats for it was last Wednesday.
Yeah.
And how Kirsten, I didn't put this down on the paper, but it's so cool to see how she leads you guys. Especially with like prayer. I noticed that you guys all pray. Too, and like for you, what has her leadership meant to you specifically? Her. Well, I guess her and Daniel now, but especially Kirsten with the band itself.
Yeah, she's always been there to kind of like keep us on track,
mm-hmm.
Especially people like Jacob.
Yeah, yeah.
Things can get off.
We
track
love Jacob, but I'm sure things can get off track. Yeah, for sure. Especially when I know that there's some younger kids that are inspired to be part of the youth band, which is wonderful.
Oh, yeah.
But I'm sure. You're thankful that
It can
she's
get a little
there.
bit wild sometimes.
Exactly, it can. And I'm sure she's thankful that, or you're thankful that she's there for that because, I mean, I see her every once in a while. Man, she's got it going on.
She does.
I've gotten to see a little bit of that through Baines a little bit. With him being on it. I've asked him some questions. He's like, yeah, we're doing this song, that song, whatever. And that's just been like really, really cool to see because now, especially too, a lot of. Just to give an example, like you have Will and I on the college ministry, of course, like she put it in her episode, which will come out, it'll already be out when this comes out, but it's not the Will and I on a show. She lets other people lead in that sense, but it's still cool to see like that, either that husband, pastor wife dynamic or like, like the guy and the girl out there, working in their ministry together,
Yeah.
and that's what Noah does, and that's what Kirsten's doing with the youth band. And I don't know why. That's always been like really interesting to me, regardless of what ministry that is.
Yeah.
Like it's just been like really cool to see. Like, it's just like look at that family go together. They just working through ministry together, huh?
Hey, if it works, it works.
It does. Yeah, and like, another example is like Randy and his wife. I've seen a little bit.
The dynamic duo.
They're that dynamic duo, all right. Let me tell you, like Randy. Have you ever gotten really talk with him at all or anything like that?
I have once.
My gosh, he's so funny.
Yes.
Like he cracks me up. Like, and there's been a few times where sometimes he'll come and he's got like a suit on or like a nice button up, whatever. I think like towards the end of the week he's just like whatever sometimes. And like I hope I'm not like exposing him too bad, because there was one time where like I just was walking in. I think I was doing another interview at some point, and he's got like he's got a t-shirt on with a hat, like it's like but it's funny to me because you don't see your pastors like that all that much. Or like there was one time during the summer I saw Pastor Jeff in shorts, and I was like, what?
Here comes little baby-faced Randy Mullinax.
Yeah, like it's so it kind of made me laugh a little bit. Like I'm not used to this. Like what? Especially the Pastor Jeff in shorts thing, because you don't ever
he
see
is
that.
Always in dress pants.
Yeah, I don't even think. Well, and even if he's not in dress pants, he's in jeans. Like and so it's like,
just doesn't feel right.
No,
it feels illegal.
It does feel illegal, honestly. Yeah, I mean, to be honest, but yeah. So we kind of talked about it a little bit already, but what's it like being a part of the Georgia Bridgemen?
Man, it's awesome, especially with Dr. Grant doing as good as he does. It's phenomenal. I can't even explain it.
Yeah, and I mean, it's crazy to think that you guys are as big as the Georgia. I like the college, the Georgia band and the college. You're as big as that band right there.
Yeah.
If not bigger. I don't know what the numbers are. But for us on like say Football Fridays, I hope we never take the Bridgemen for granted, because I mean we get to see them every home game Friday. That we, and like some people. Like they're like, man, that Lounge band's so good. I was like, we know we get to hear him every Friday, but so I don't remember. So do you run out, or do you? I don't remember. Are you part of the like ones that don't? I don't know if you do or not. Like I know there's some
during
that don't.
Like the pregame stuff.
Yeah.
So how that works is battery, like all like the drums, the tenors, the snares, basses, and stuff, and the tubas. They're already out on the field.
Right. Yeah.
So we're standing there. We're doing like the cadence and stuff.
And then you've got like people with
right in between us,
bro. And it's so funny to watch people lose their hats, and then they get stepped on. It's like, no, I wasn't worried somebody's going to trip over one, and then it's just like, oh no, like
it's terrifying because you'll be marching and you'll just see a hat on the ground. Like, what are we supposed to do about that?
And like, how? I mean, because you're still moving around too, like like during your shows or whatever.
Yeah.
How do you keep that straight? Like, because there's so many people moving around, like, different directions.
It's not as difficult as you would think. It just takes a lot of peripheral vision, like, usage of it, and...
Also following the person next to you, right?
Yeah.
And you're praying they don't mess up.
You're tracking them, yeah.
Yeah, like, what you doing? You gotta go that way. Go that way. Like,
You have to look at them without looking at them, if that makes sense.
And I've also noticed, too, it was when, I think... It was some of the people right in front, because I'm in like the second row of the stadium. I noticed that like at least some of them, I don't know if you are, but like some of them are counting. Like I can tell, I can read their lips. I'm like,
we do that a lot early season because we're still getting like the counts and getting used to stuff.
Right.
Later in the season, you'll see that a lot less.
Yeah, it's like then that fades out, and then you get all professional about it, and you just go crazy.
You get the duts in too.
Like, what's some of the stuff you guys been able to do? Like, you've been able to go to parades and stuff too, right? Like, was it the Honeybee Festival, right? Or no? Was that another one? Was there?
This past year it was.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Christmas parade.
That's right. Yeah, I knew there was somewhere you guys went, and like
the year before that it was San Antonio, Texas for the Fiesta Flambe parade.
Nice, and then. You guys have also, that was a nice, I don't know if the mic picked that up, but he just cracked his neck.
Jeez.
But, you guys also have, won a lot of competitions and things like that, and you've won them, right? Or you've gotten really close.
Not to seem cocky, but.
Yeah. So, like, I mean, what are you guys thinking when you go into a competition like that? Like, what all goes into that?
I can't say for a lot of other people, but for me, it's just kind of like as soon as we enter the show site, I'm sort of mentally preparing myself. Like all right, this is what I have to do. I have to remember to do this, this, and that.
Mm-hmm.
It's like your brain's on fire. That's like a little analogy that we use all the time.
Nice. And I can clearly tell in like the videos that have been taken and stuff, like you guys are concentrating. I mean,
especially having to concentrate on 6 different drums, moving, looking up at the press box, all this stuff.
And I mean, sure you're having fun, but it's you're like, okay,
it's difficult,
I got to lock this in, like. And I think in one year, I can't remember. I don't know if you guys. I don't know if you were or not, but I know one year, a set of drums were like in the front, like for one of the shows. And I was like, it was cool because you guys are always they get stuck in the back. I'm like, and I'm having to sit there and go.
That was this year or this past year.
Was it? It was the past year. That's right. Yeah, because I don't know if I was. I know I saw Maggie Joe there because like she was like right in front where I was sitting, like because. I'm on like where my seats are, like the 30-yard line ish around there, and so they were and some of you were like standing up on the those stands or whatever, and so like I could really see some of you. I was like, now this is cool. Now they need to bring the drums back up to the front because then the next year you get stuck in the back and I can't like see you guys. But I've tried to like find specific
individual people. Yeah,
it's too hard. Like
there's just so many of us and we're all wearing the exact same thing.
For real, like when my friend Malachi was in it, I tried to find him. I couldn't do it. And I mean, he even had, like he had this like real thick beard now and all, and I couldn't find him. I was like, it should be so easy, but that hat, like there's no hair. Like it looks like there's no hair on top of your head.
You cannot tell female from male.
No, like I'd have to like look right in your face. I was like, oh, that's who that is, but. There's only, and I was asking, Audrey too, when she was interviewed, I said, this might sound a bit of like an odd question, but, do you like, have you ever like stared at me while you're performing? She's like, yeah, because I have to stare at somebody. Like, just to like lock my face in.
Somebody,
and I'm like really close to where she's looking. So and I'm like, okay, I just wanted to make sure because like, I didn't know. I was like, are you staring at the person behind me? Like,
at least for me, it's always been one of the judges in the press boxes. I try and stare at them and smile and just make them feel as uncomfortable as possible.
Avery gives them one of them deadpan looks.
I do. Sometimes I do, yeah.
So, at your years at LHS, how have you seen God work at LHS?
It's been like, even through the students, it's progressed so much. Like, FCA. That's a really big example. Yeah. I've never been able to personally be there for one of them. Yeah. Well, I think I did freshman year, but
it's hard, because it's that early in the morning.
Yeah. Yeah. From what I can tell, it reaches a lot of people.
It does, and like one of the things that blows my mind is that there's so many people that are willing to come speak, and they're students. You know? Which is really cool. And then also too with those witness cards, I was passing them things out like candy, bro.
So was I.
I was like,
all the ones that you gave me, they were gone in 2 days.
Really? Yeah. That's awesome. Well, because what's great about those witness cards is that there's a website on the back of those witness cards, and the people can go look at that, and there's more resources for people. And it was funny because I told the person that I get them from, because she goes here too. It's do you know Miles Hannon and Lisa Hannon?
Yes.
It's Lisa Hannon. She gives me the cards, and I told her that there's a bunch of people at school asking me. The students were asking. She was like, "Yay! And how many do you need?" And I was like, because I gave like a fat stack to Micah. I gave like a really pretty big stack to you, and I think maybe some to Audrey too. But I was just like dishing them out, and like some of the events, Operation Patriotism and stuff that I do, I like leave them places. I'll just like scoot them in, put them in places.
Yeah, with my Turtle Tuesdays.
Yes.
At some point, I'm gonna start making shirts.
Yeah, do it.
I want to include some sort of scripture in those. So.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, just I don't know why. Just because you said Turtle Tuesday, it made me think of like. I don't know what the exact verse is, but you could put like being slow to anger because turtles are slow, right? But like people, what's great about that, it makes me think of it. Anything, if you have the right intention for it, can be a ministry. Yeah. Like something. I mean, because the name, you can agree, it's a silly name. Like Turtle Tuesday is like what in the world.
Turtles are adorable. I decided they needed their own day, so I gave them one.
Nice, but like. What's great is what you're trying to do with it, or eventually going to do with it, is, start it up to where people, they're going to get out of their comfort zone, and, they're going to meet new people, and hopefully you can spread the gospel through it.
Yeah, that was my plan.
Right. And because one thing I've seen is, what's unfortunate is that teachers can't do that because of their job. Now, would they love to? Oh, yes. There's some teachers that I know that would love to.
Like Mr. Phelps.
Yeah. But it's up to us, because we're not tied to the school in that way.
Yeah.
So
I just hope they don't make it to where we can't do it as students, because that would.
Hey, you got to remember, who you have as one of the, I guess, assistant principals or whatever.
Absolutely.
Matt Faircloth.
Matt
Faircloth. Hey, sir.
Not only a member of this church, but a devout Christian.
So I wouldn't be too worried about. And I do know, the superintendent also goes here as well.
Yes.
Now,
yes.
so, I wouldn't fret about that too much right now. But that's always something in the back of my mind. I don't know about yours, but about just not our school, but others. Around
schools in general.
Yeah, because you see what's going on. Like some of these parents at school board meetings are starting to push back because they have to, right? I'm sure you've seen the videos and stuff. It's
there
like
are so many.
What in the world is going on? And it makes people worried about like the future and all that. And I keep telling people, I'm like, you've got to focus on what you can control, which is not much, but you just got to focus on that.
It's not much, but if everybody does it, then it'll add up eventually.
It will. And when it comes to our school, it's for me. I've said it, it's going in towards the direction of like it's getting better, but it's been about 50-50. Like when it comes to, because you see some that are so great. Like SCA is a great, like you brought it up, and then you've got some kids that are just like, whoa, it's the complete opposite end of the spectrum.
Yeah, we used to have a lot. Like our society used to be mainly Christian up until I think I've seen in the past couple of years. There's been a lot of just. I don't know how to explain.
I mean, well, maybe, and I've always thought too. I'm wondering. I was sitting there thinking, I bet you this generation they just want to be a part of something. I'm like, ooh, there's something. Yeah. And you know what? They look at the two. Like, here's in my head. There's the two options. Follow Jesus, or the LGBTQ, whatever other letter they want to add to that. Right. And they choose that because one, their friends are doing it mostly. Two, it's easier.
Yeah.
Because I'm not going to say that being a Christian is easy, because it's not. It's not. It's not an easy road. But it's so worth it. Just like me and you both know. And I've seen so many, and I think you've seen the videos too, of people who went down that path, but they found Jesus and came back. And that's some of the most remarkable videos I've ever seen, because that's so prevalent in today's time. It's like, if you don't think like, then it makes me sit there and think God can change anybody if that, Yeah. I mean, because it blows me away. I'm like, what? Because you see the before and they show the after, and it's like, wow. And like, what's crazy to me too, it's not in that long of a time span either. Like, it just,
they're
God changes
short
them.
Periods, yeah.
God changes them like that, and that's so cool to see. And I hope that, and I think I've told you this before. Even after I'm graduated, if there's anything you guys need help with, like Michael, you, Micah, anybody. Need help with trying to spread the gospel in the schools, let me know and I'll get you the resource.
We got that new club that we're making right now. It's the Discipleships of Faith.
Yeah, it's like, I don't know what he I need to look back at the name, but
I think it's CDF, Christian Discipleships of Faith.
Yeah, and that was something Michael actually brought to me like a couple of years ago, like or a year or two ago, and he was trying to do it, and we just we got busy and never got around to it.
I think it got denied by the school.
Really?
For a variety of things, yeah.
Huh. But I'm glad that he's keeping up with it or trying to do it again, and. Again, but it goes back to we can do those small things like those witness cards or just spreading the gospel to somebody. And one of the things that's so cool for me is like with those T-shirts, right? There's people that say really aren't Christians per se, like, but they're wearing those T-shirts that because of me, but they're wearing the scripture on the back. I mean, you got to yank the scripture off the back. So
just bleach it.
Yeah, but so I mean, people are. They're wearing the gospel on their back, and then it sparks questions, conversations. Now, I hope they're pleasant conversations. I know some.
Hopefully.
Have you ran into any of that, like, yet, at Lowndes? Like, has there been anything?
I have.
Yeah. I mean, you ain't got to be specific if you don't want to, but...
a few times. There's been one person that we've been trying to...
Yeah.
Me me, Micah, and Steven have been trying to try and get to at least listen or be open to
Mm-hmm.
coming here, but we just aren't having it as of right now. We just got to keep praying.
Just
about
keep
it.
praying, man. Yeah, I mean, and there's some, and in my experience, what's funny about it is some of the hardest people you can convince is family members.
Yeah.
Which is really strange. You would think, but friends are. I mean, in my experience, are more open in some ways, and it kind of blew my mind when I first figured it out.
Yeah, my family struggled trying to get me to come back to Christ.
Yeah, which
it was horrible, but
and I know, it's at least in my personal experience too with. My family's like spread out, around the country. Like some's in Kentucky, some's here.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I've got like because I have a lot of uncles, my dad's side, but they spread out and moved, and and like one, love him to death, I do, but he, sometimes because he's looked into so many different resources. I'm not saying studying is a bad thing because it's a great thing. Look into those resources, figure out what people. Believe, and so you can combat that, right? But he's looked into so much and feels like I think sometimes he thinks he's not, he can't be wrong because he's looked at all these resources. And
that's definitely a big problem.
And so I remember one time we sat down and we're gonna have a conversation, just because we hadn't caught up in a while. I had not seen him, whatever. And then by the end of it, you would think I was supposed to feel encouraged, right?
Yeah.
I wasn't. I was discouraged. I felt like there was an argument rather than a just a good conversation. Because one of the things I brought up, I don't know if you've heard of it, The Chosen, right? Is that TV show is and it says in the beginning, it's not a complete retelling, like it says that, okay, if people read, it says that, but he was trying to fight me on it, and I was like, well, I said to him, how can this be the worst thing in the world when it's making people pick up their Bibles and read?
Exactly.
Like, it may not be 100%. It says it. I get it. If you don't want to watch it, don't watch it. But for the people that do, don't discourage them because it's their way of having that visual representation.
Absolutely.
And then going to read what happened. They're like, oh, okay, I get that. I can put a face to a name or whatever. Like I'll give you an example that helps me. Like it's one of my favorite stories now because of it. Is the lady in the crowd, right? She has that bleeding problem, right? And seeing that visual representation of when she touches like the garment, right? Yeah. It helps me understand. Because some of we've talked about it. I'm sure in your life groups and all that too. Things like the Bible, they are not sometimes clear. No matter what translation you read.
Yeah, sometimes they can be a little bit wary.
Like, what does it? But when you see that representation, that visual, and you can see it in your head, it makes it
so much better.
And I've even said they need after they get done with these 7 seasons of The Chosen, they need to go back and make an Old Testament because I found the Old Testament way more confusing. I mean, just because of because there's of course
it starts in a good spot, but you can definitely tell that there's stuff that happened before it.
Right, and for me, it's because more people know the story of Jesus regardless, so you can understand that better.
Yeah.
But then the Old Testament, some of I get so lost in because there's so many chapters, so many this, so many that, whatever, and some of the laws that they had to follow back then, I'm like, huh? It gets confusing, and so I'd love to have a visual aid,
especially when you get into the names and the numbers and all the statistics.
I don't know. It was funny, and I'm just being honest here. I have skipped some of the family trees when I saw them.
So have I.
I'm like, my gosh, I'd love to, get these down, but I don't know if my brain can process them.
I want to, but
it's not going to happen today. Maybe later, right? But we've kind of talked about it a little bit. But when it comes to the youth, do you see hope, or are you worried about the future?
I'm not as much worried about the future with this particular group, but...
And you talking about Northside, or you talking
about... the group at Northside.
Uh-huh.
But looking around Valdosta, some worries do arise.
Yeah. I mean, so what... what do you think we can do as believers? We kind of discussed it, to help them understand better. and not be pushy, but help them understand. What do you think we could do to help that?
I feel like we could maybe probably just get around Valdosta a lot more.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe we could organize some events where we can go and talk to people.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, I think, too, what would be good, because I know they do it at the college, but I'd love to do it kind of similar, but the youth do it. I know that they do, like, what is that? I can't think of what the event's called, but, we're like, I think Will and I have gone and done it, and they've kind of like advertised Northside,
Yeah.
But at VSU, it's like the happening or the something like that. They have all these different groups, but they talk about what they do, and I feel like the youth could do something like that too. Obviously in a safe way, because I've heard stories of, like, I'll give you an example. Davis, he told me that he went and to practice for Argentina.
Yeah.
He went and preached to some homeless people. Now, you've got to be careful because, in that experience, it was good. He had a good conversation with the guy. But then also, too, there's been a few other times where, and he was just bringing this up, he's like, not defending nobody or anything, but, if you're like, you can't defend yourself, or if you're a woman that can't defend yourself especially, don't do this. Or if, because he said he went to, like, an FCA or something and spoke about and told that story. And then all these little kids were walking up to him and said, I want to do that. And then he was like, no. Or if you're going to do that, bring your parent. Like,
bring a parent, bring something to keep you safe.
Because you don't know what, they may just want to be left alone.
Yeah.
And that's how it's going to be. And one of the things I've harped on, at least for this podcast anyway, is we need to be more compassionate about it. And I think that comes back with, that relative I had. Because he was so, like, just kind of like, like, we got to be compassionate about letting hear people out. Like, there's obviously a reason why they're deflecting this or they're not hearing me. So we got to figure it out to get to the root of the problem, and that's not going to do anything if we're just going to yell in their face about, because, and I've also said too, we have to be easy because this is if they are curious about it, this is a whole new thing. This is a whole new way to live than how they're doing it now.
Yeah.
And so
it's going to take a lot of change.
Right. And so you have to be there for them, guide them through it, and if they have any questions, don't be afraid. Don't be like, why'd you ask that? Like, because, like, don't be, like, disgusted about why they asked it. But
they can't ask, like, oh, like, why does he say, or why does he say this in the Bible?
Mm-hmm.
Well, why are you asking that?
We can't do that. Exactly.
Yeah, you can't do that.
We have to, and we may not know all the answers right then, but we have to make sure you find it or talk to somebody that may know. Because that's one thing that God challenged me with, and it still is now. When I did the 1 year, I went and, if you remember, got questions from one of my classes.
Yes.
Well, ever since then, those kids kept asking me stuff, and they were like hard stuff. Like, I was like, I've been like, a year and a half into it, and I'm like, huh? Like,
ask Nathan. He's really good.
Oh, I know. Like, he blew me away when I interviewed him. I was like, man, it's like,
he's awesome.
And he definitely challenges me a lot. Like, he asked me a question one time. I can't remember what it was. It was something along the lines of, why do you? I think it might have been having to do with, like, interning or something. Like, what, why do you want to do it, or why did you start the podcast or something?
Yeah.
And it just, because I'm not good at just coming up with on the fly like that. And so I had
Neither
to.
am I.
What I had
Even
to do.
for this.
Yeah. No, you're fine. I had to go and. I had to go and, like, write it down, and then I just came with, like, a laundry list of stuff.
Yeah.
But, like, I'm not good at, But yeah, he definitely challenged me on whatever. I can't remember. Man, I wish I remember what it was, but it was either the podcast something or intern, and one of the two. I don't remember what it was though. So if a youth walked up to you and said, Avery, I'm struggling to navigate this world in a biblical way, what advice would you give them?
So just judging, because I know, like, personally, I might not be the best help in that situation.
Mm-hmm.
I would give them a resource and tell them like who to go to, like Noah, Nathan, Pastor Robbie even.
Mm-hmm. That's good. I mean, because when that's really good, because if you know you're not gonna be the best help in it, give them somebody that can, and don't just like don't just drop them off and just throw them off on the deep end. That's good. That's really really good. I like that. So what is your life verse, and why is it important to you? And you can get it if you need to.
Yeah.
But this is one thing that I've really started enjoying asking people.
Yeah. So my life verse is Colossians 3:8.
Mm-hmm.
It says, "But now you yourselves are to put off all these: anger, wrath, malice, blasphemy, filthy language out of your mouth."
And I was just thinking about it as you read it. I think that if you were going to put a verse on the back of one of your shirts, it'd be that one.
That's a good one, yeah.
Because I think it applies to a lot of youth today, and they're going to see that. Be like,
I was gonna put it on the back of my Letterman. I was gonna go get it retailored.
hey, do it.
Yeah.
Do it. Yeah, but so for you specifically, why that verse? That you think?
So I struggled with a lot of those things. Like I struggled with anger. I struggled with hating a lot of people, and I used a lot of profanity. And it's gotten so much better since then. But
yeah, that's good, bro. See, another way that God's worked in your life.
Absolutely,
that's amazing. But for my final question, if you could describe NBC in one word, what would it be and why?
I'd say hope.
Good one. So why would you say that, in your personal opinion?
I feel like I would say that because this church is not only worried about reaching people currently, but they really invest a lot of their resources into the youth, and we're so blessed to have that.
Right.
Because the youth, whether a lot of people realize it or not, but we're going to be running things in the near future.
Right. And what's great is that you guys are already doing it in some capacity. With the roles like we discussed earlier, with you and Gavin working in the back for the technology stuff.
Yeah.
That's awesome to see. Eventually, there's going to be, I want to know every single one of you in there. I'll walk in there and be like, hey, I know all of you in there. But, I've said in the past family for my word, because what's so cool, and, this podcast has helped with a lot of that, is I know so many people with so many different age gaps and, different people, different walks of life. And, I know from everybody from Brian and there from, from Pastor Andy, there's such a, that's so cool. There's so different people, those two right there. But yeah, and I know all these
vastly different.
Yeah, right. But it's so cool to know them all, And I know, and I've said this before, that if I asked anybody here if I needed something, they'd be on it. They
would, yes.
Which you don't find that everywhere. You
definitely don't.
And I'll say this, it was so cool. I saw a video, and I don't know if I reposted it or not, but it was this pastor. He dressed up as a homeless man. Yeah. And he sat outside his church, and he was going to see what his people did. A few walked by,
Yeah.
As you would expect to happen, but most of them, they were either giving him food, water. They were saying, "Hey, if you want to come inside, come inside." Well, then he comes inside, takes the stuff off, and he's like, I was about to sit there and cry because of how amazing you guys, this is what you would have done for somebody, that was sitting there, and I feel like Northside, does so much of that, and we, and I'll give you another example. Somebody in a Facebook group or whatever, it's like, I'm trying to find a church. So many people, Northside, they're so inviting to. It was so cool. But I'll tell you this, and then then we can head out. But, and I was telling this to the other youth the other day that when they came on, and I said, you guys have so many talents in this youth group, and I know that you're going to use, and you're already using them. You are with the drumming and everything.
Definitely try it.
And I'm excited to see what God's going to do. Because, guess what? I'm not going to just up and, I'll be gone from the ministry, but I'll be sitting in the back still. You can't get rid of me that easy.
You'll still be here.
I'll still be here. I'll make sure to, check in on you guys for sure. But I am so excited to see what God's going to do in your life. Because, you're already, what I can see is you're already working in lounge, with either, whether it be with the cards or with Turtle Tuesdays or whatever. Hey, I know, it sounds silly, but, it's a great idea, because people need that, that friendship. And, you're doing it with your friends too, which is awesome to see. And I just want to encourage you through that it's going to be amazing. And I know now you're going to have a bunch of people praying for it because they're going to hear it. But do you have any final thoughts or anything that you'd like to say or anything before we get out of here?
Not particularly.
All right, man. Well, I thank you so much for coming on, and I can't wait to see what God's going to do through it.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Of course. With another episode of the Young Minds Podcast coming to a close, I just want to remind you that you are never alone and faith is action. So let's get out there.